Listen, I know they're the fan favorites and they didn't win, but get over it. Space Station Gaming got trounced. But here's why it's not a big deal. The spring split in general, right, is an interesting situation. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about a split that doesn't send teams to LAN. It doesn't really crown you victor of... It's important to win to a certain extent. But it's also important to understand what that victory means in the grand scheme of things. Okay? Shoutouts to Rival, who actually took home the trophy, and they did a great job doing so. Great for them, and it's awesome, and I'm not taking a damn thing away from them. And I don't want to diminish the victory that is winning the spring split. But at the same time, to use a Hinduism, it's not all doom and gloom if your favorite team didn't turn up the way you wanted them to. It's doom and gloom. Actually, let me reiterate that. It's not all doom and gloom if your favorite team didn't finish the way you wanted them to, but it is doom and gloom if your favorite team didn't perform or didn't do necessary things. Now look, Space Station Gaming faltered at some really, really bad spots. Baskin got overtaken, which was really interesting, but watching them play against the European squads, it looked like a meta mismatch. It looked like an approach to the game problem, not a raw skill, raw talent, or understanding problem. Now it's interesting. I think you can sort of equate bringing the wrong meta or the wrong weapon to the fight as misunderstanding, but it's also, you watch them change and adapt. It's also something, it's how you reflect and respond after the fact. So essentially what went down, you guys should watch the games, but essentially what went down, to oversimplify and boil it down, North America, specifically the Space Station Gaming guys, play double Hunter. They played Hunters in the mid lane to exert early game pressure, which allows them to find invades and subsequent invades and just repeatedly shut down what they found to be just one area of the jungle. They would choose the red buff or choose the speed buff. And the European squads, when you look at them, really just didn't care. They reacted by going into mages and foregoing that early game pressure and sometimes getting invaded, but then punishing really hard at other times. And it wound up being that late game mentality was actually the better look. That teams that did have those mages in the later moments of the match would be successful. You look at Rival, you look at Dignitas, those are the two teams that wound up in the finals, so those are the two teams that wound up successful. So when it comes down to it, did Space Station Gaming lose the sword fight because they weren't adept at wielding their rapier? Or did they lose the sword fight because they showed up with a little dagger and everybody else had a 7-foot broadsword? Right? That's what went down. And at the end of the day, Space Station Gaming are able to go out and buy a broadsword. It's a scenario where they came to the LAN with the wrong mentality. Not necessarily, that's a bad statement. They didn't come to the LAN with the wrong mentality. They came to the LAN with the wrong strategy. And why wouldn't they? It worked in their respective regions. Space Station Gaming looked like one of the best teams in the world, if not the best. People were saying that they looked like the best team in the world. Now, I wouldn't agree with that, but I think they were very close to being so. And they were definitely worthy of a conversation. And then if you watch their performance versus the Europeans, it's lackluster. So I think a couple of things happened there that's bad for Space Station and their fans. Obviously, I think Baskin got overtaken a little bit. And Baskin comes in, and Baskin's supposed to be this guy that can manhandle the best of teams by himself. And that's not true. When you watch him against these super high-end teams, they're able to sort of stop the Baskin effect. Now, what's the positive side of that is that the teams had to focus on the Baskin effect. So that wasn't a bunch of smoke. Sometimes when this happens and you see players do really well and you say, holy shit, they're carrying the squad, it's all over. No. What winds up happening is reality sets in, it was a great week for them, or they're just a good matchup, and then they get shit on later on. Not the case. Baskin really is that dude. And talking to the Europeans, he really is that dude. But going forward, I mean, it just is a world that he can be mitigated. And that's fine. The team just has to bounce back and learn how to deal with that mitigation and all that sort of thing. And which is great for Space Station because they don't plan on playing 100% through Baskin all the time. That's a really big deal. Baskin is a transcendent player that can absolutely change the course of a game by himself. And that's a valuable asset to have on a team. And you should plan for that. But the moment that that's your only plan of action is the moment that you stop becoming a team and start becoming something I don't recognize. And Space Station Gaming has never had that mentality. Credit to the guys. That is a fan and a commentator thing. But the team understands that Baskin is that good. Trust me, they get it. Like, Barrett and Jeff were joking in the interview. They said, somebody asked, why is it always you two that are doing the interview? And they said, well, that's what we're here for. The other three win the game. So, the Space Station guys continuing being hilarious. They're great guys. And, watching them, I muted the wrong mic. That was kind of funny. Watching them perform at LAN was tough. But one of the upsides, again, two upsides, was one, that the reason they lost, I don't think was representative of their talent level or their ceiling. I think they just brought the wrong strategy to LAN, and they can and will fix that. Two, and I'm always going to talk about this with Space Station, Sean Doris, the owner of the org, came, and there's so much positivity there. There's so much love. I think Sean is running an organization the right way in so many senses of the term, and having an organization that supports you like that, ask any player, is super important. So just another double down on the fact that SSG is doing things right as far as the org is concerned. They made huge moves. He's like chilling at Utah Jazz basketball games. Like, Sean Doris definitely could have just not shown up, but seeing the org leader show up, that's really good. And then the most important part, Aquaman! Aquarius, baby! Woo-wee! This dude turned up. Aquarius quickly becoming one of my favorite players in the league. So the story of Aquarius, and I'll make it a side note to all those people that are going to come out and say, but I thought he was always this good. Shouts to Wowie. But let me go. Aquarius was a great, is a fine player, but kind of came out of nowhere. He like played Joust, right? And these guys picked him up. And so, as a player, like literally anybody, I don't care who you are, you're going to be overshadowed by Jeff Hinla Barracuda, Baskin in his best play of all his career, and Andenster back in the jungle since season Who Gives a Damn. You're going to be overshadowed. That's life. And I give a lot of credit to Aquarius for not giving a shit. That's really a big deal. I think a lot of players come in and want to be the spotlight on them and everything, and you can't direct that, right? So that's not the case here. Couldn't get it. Oh well. Didn't care. Aquarius was a great role player for Space Station Gaming. When you have players like Andenster and Baskin and Barracuda, well, you don't have to be another superstar. And kind of like too many cooks. You look at a team like Team Dignitas, and they have 5 superstars. And sometimes that hurts them, I think. Because you have too many people trying to make the winning call, make the winning play, and that can muddy up the waters. Space Station Gaming, on the other hand, Aquarius just kind of accepted his role and played and was the role player. I'm going to lose lane and be Ardio. I'm going to lose lane and be Sobek. And then when it comes time to team fight, I'm going to set up my teammates to do the heavy lifting that they can do. And that's really commendable. But by no stretch of the imagination is that a conversation about his talent level or his skill ceiling. Just because you're a role player and you understand that you're there to elevate your other teammates doesn't mean that that makes you a bad player or that you're worse than the other teammates. Understanding that your skill set is to pass the ball instead of dunk the ball makes you smarter than the passers that try to dunk it. Does that make sense? Well, the beauty of this LAN, and we saw it towards the end of the spring split, but this LAN really solidified the fact that Aquarius is a motherfucking superstar. And that's a very big deal for Space Station Gaming. Maybe I'll make another couple of minute video specifically on that, but this was a really big deal to see Aquarius step up and be a star in his own right for Space Station Gaming. At some points, becoming the second option. What I mean by that is Baskin's the guy that you look to make the plays and everybody sets him up. The second guy they go to is usually Anidster. Some games, it was Aquarius, and that was really exciting. Because seeing a team that can play through multiple players, multiple different ways, multiple strategies, that's how you become a team that really, really makes an impact. So 3 biggest deals about Space Station Gaming and why their loss shouldn't be too upsetting. If you're a fan, look forward to the summer and fall split. They lost not because of their skill set, but because of they brought the wrong meta. Now you can definitely say that they didn't adjust quickly enough, and that's a fair argument. But at the same time, they can learn and they can grow and they can maybe adapt quicker next time around. They were really, really, really positive in their hunter strategy, so they stuck to it, and it was wrong. But it wasn't how well they played the game that I think made them lose. So that org support and the immersion of Aquarius. Like I said, I might go in detail a little bit more about what he does for the team, but having another fantastic player on the squad, he is now elevated. He reminds me of Arkelon Dignitas. He's now a part of the team, fully in the spotlight. Fans accept him. Also, shout out to that interview. That shit was a lot of fun. Space Station Gaming, don't be too upset. We got a couple more videos. It's been a lot of fun. I'm glad to actually have some time to breathe. Console LAN this weekend. Make sure you leave comments about, I don't know, everything from the video. What do you want to see next? That's probably the biggest deal. What do you want to see next? I'm always running out of ideas. Well, that's false, but, well, whatever. That's a whole different conversation. Watch me on Twitch. I do the Twitch thing a lot, too. It's been fun. And this has been fun. So I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching. Peace. Boom, 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 after. That's it. What?